Welcome back to the third segment of the six-part series for the For Real Movie Club, and our next movie on the slate is Iron Man 2. Eddie, we'll start with you. What is your first thoughts on Iron Man 2?
I thought it was. I think the same magic from the first Iron Man was kept. Uh, I don't think there was a particular. I think it was improved actually. First of all, the visual effects were better. No brainer since I mean there's a couple of years between the movies, and I thought the threat of Mickey Rourke's character, terrible with the names. I know the actors and the names they escape me, but I like the fact that there's somebody he has to fight. Kind of like the Hulk had Abomination, and he goes head to head with this big dude who's got technology as well. I like that. I don't know. The clash of opposites appeals to me, and just generally, Iron Man 2 is just as hilarious as the first one and as awesome as the first one.
Sam, what were your initial thoughts on Iron Man 2?
Sorry, I didn't realize my mic was out. Initial thoughts on Iron Man 2. What a gigantic step down from Iron Man. And the perfect example of what happens when you have way too many voices trying to put what they think should be in a movie. Just a gigantic clusterfuck of storylines.
Tony, what's your thought on Iron Man 2?
Definitely weaker. Definitely not a movie that I can just sit down and put on and, from beginning to end feel this emotional journey and stuff, but it takes a hit because it needed to. In the grand scheme of things, Iron Man 2 is one of the most important movies that happens in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because it sets up a whole lot more than something like Incredible Hulk does. And yeah, it's not a strong film. It is on the weaker side, but the threads that they put out there that go throughout Thor, Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man 3, and still going on, those are so important that it's almost kind of in the same regard that I'm thinking what's going to happen with Batman versus Superman, where it's going to be a step in a weird direction, but looking back, we're going to appreciate it more.
So one other thing that we've been talking about with the other two movies, and we're going to talk about a little bit on this because we've already hit on some of the characters because they brought the casting over. But three people that are pretty important to this film are the introduction of Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow.
Woo!
Sam Rockwell.
Woo!
Mickey Rourke.
Boo.
And actually, there's a fourth. Don Cheadle taking over as War Machine.
Woo! Yay.
Tony, what are your thoughts on the four additions to Iron Man 2?
Scarlett Johansson is not my first choice for Black Widow. That would have been Emily Blunt, but she has proven herself over the past couple of films. Totally a welcome addition to this movie. Don Cheadle, awesome. Huge step up from Terrence Howard. Not creepy, not a pedophile.
What the hell?
Mickey Rourke, though. God damn it, Mickey Rourke. He is one of the biggest problems in this film. And as bad as he is in so many different ways, Sam Rockwell is good. Sam Rockwell is definitely a great villain in this film. He would have been a terrible Iron Man. I don't know why they thought that he would have been a good choice for that role originally. But he is just incredibly charismatic in pretty much every role he's in. And he brings a different side of a different type of villain to the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I think that they can do every once in a while. And if they get somebody strong enough of an actor to pull it off and a script that's strong enough, then you can have somebody who is threatening despite the fact that they're completely not threatening. If it wasn't for Justin Hammer in this film and we just had Ivan Vanko, man, this would be a pain to get through.
Sam, what were your thoughts on the four people that have been added to the Iron Man 2 film?
Scarlett Johansson, good choice. Never a problem getting talented people. Don Cheadle, same. Better than Terrence Howard. Got some name recognition behind him. Good actor. Mickey Rourke, oh my god. Like, why? Why? Why did they get this guy? Like, okay, he looks like a big, beefy, scary man who speaks semi-passable Russian. Other than that, he's not a great actor to me. I mean, I know he's had some really good performances in the past, but this wasn't one of them. Poor writing for the character, and just like all over the place. Why was Mickey Rourke obsessed with, oh, I think like the bird should be like a big thing in this movie? No. This is why Mickey Rourke isn't a writer. No. And then I'm
Bad dog.
Yeah, it's a bad Mickey Rourke.
Get like the spray bottle and just squirt it at him. And then
He
what
looks
was
like
the
he
fourth
needs it.
actor?
He's sweaty and dirty as fuck looking in this movie.
Oh god. The fourth actor, I'm so pissed off I can't even think. Sam Rockwell. Very good actor. When I hear he's in a movie, I'm interested. Justin Hammer was not written well at all. He was they successfully portrayed him in only one way. He is the opposite of Tony Stark. He is not that intelligent, only smart enough to run a successful business, but not a scientist. He's more money grubbing and is always trying to one up. Wants to prove he's better than Tony Stark in this big penis contest, just measuring dicks, basically. And they made him a whiner. He complained the whole time. It's like he was more focused on one-upping Tony Stark than actually like being a character that I cared about. Like, I didn't care if he one-upped Tony. And I knew as soon as he did one-up Tony that it was going to blow up in his face because it was actually Mickey Rourke's character that did it all. He didn't do anything. He saved the guy from prison, which I have no idea how in the real world that would have happened. That whole thing was just like perfect timing here, 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 and here in a completely unrealistic prison break. Other than that, great actor in a bad role.
Eddie, what were your thoughts on the 4 additions to the Iron Man 2 franchise, being Cheadle, Johansson, Rourke, and Rockwell?
Yeah, Cheadle was definitely a step up. I mean, he's done some amazing dramatic roles, and I mean, it's not like this is a movie where you required a lot of drama or anything, but yeah, he was great. A lot more credible than Terrence Howard. Nothing against Terrence Howard. It's just Don Cheadle's he seems like a serious actor to me. Like he really he's a real actor. No offense to the previous. Scarlett Johansson is great. Period. I like her in pretty much anything. So there. Oh, I mean, she's talented. I mean, it's not like she's hot and beautiful, but I mean, she's talented. That's the point, I guess. And she's hot twice. Sam Rockwell. Okay, this guy's again, just like Sam said, he's a great actor, but it's kind of like, I don't know, man. I would have maybe picked someone else, or I'd still want him in the role, but like, yeah, make him a little more less of a douche. I don't know. And Mickey Rourke, I don't know, dude. Like, it's the whole like I am evil Russian is like, it's just so, I don't know. It's retro. It's overplayed. It's James Bondy. I don't know. It's just it kind of works though. Whatever. I mean, I don't know, since I don't know anything about the comic universe. It seemed like the kind of opposite that Iron Man would have to face. So like, just apart from the stupid gay bird, it seemed pretty cool to have Iron Man fight this guy. And yeah, he looked just like he did in The Wrestler, dirty and oily and nasty. Yeah, that's it.
To give a few facts real quick before we go into the next topic, the movie was released 2 years after the original Iron Man on May 7th, 2010, with a runtime of 125 minutes and a budget of $200 million. The box office brought in $623.9 million, so I would say this was a success when it comes to the box office. Usually we ask, does it stay true to the comics? But since this is a sequel to the other Iron Man that we talked about, and we say that they do take liberties, and it seems to be a running theme, the question I have for Iron Man 2 to kind of discuss topics, we'll start with you, Tony, on this. We know that Terrence Howard stepped out. We talked a little bit about casting and Don Cheadle. As a fan, and we talked a little about this in Incredible Hulk as well, when they take a character who's played by an actor already and replace them, does it annoy the fuck out of you?
Yes and no. If they upgrade, it doesn't matter to me. If they downgrade or they stay the same and it's for no reason, then that's a little bit odd to me. Obviously, if somebody dies, then you need to replace him. And I'd rather them replace somebody than to try to rewrite around a character, kind of like what happens with the Sin City movie. I mean, Michael Clark Duncan played Manute, I think is his name, in the first movie. The second one, the story has Manute in it, so they got Dennis Haysbert, I think, to play the character. And, you know, he did more than fine for that kind of role. Instead of having to rewrite around, make up a new character or something like that, you can replace him. I mean, actors are replaceable in a lot of different ways. Replacing Terrence Howard as Don Cheadle seemed like it would have been a mistake to me, but it ended up being a huge upgrade because Terrence Howard was apparently a baby and wanted a lot more money. If they would have just caved in and given him the money that he asked for, they might not have had the budget to be able to pull off hiring some of the other actors, and that is a huge problem. You don't sacrifice something on behalf of something that doesn't need to be sacrificed. If they would have had Terrence Howard, who knows, maybe they wouldn't have been able to get Sam Rockwell. Maybe they would have had some no-name play Justin Hammer, and it would have been even worse. Or actually, you know what? Maybe they wouldn't have been able to afford Mickey Rourke, and they would have had somebody better. Now that I'm thinking about that. In general, I want them to keep people if they're good. It's not the end of the world if they replace them, though. This is sort of something that I wish kind of would have happened with maybe Captain America. And when we get to the Phase 2 kind of side of things, we'll talk about the difference between having and not having Red Skull, but that's next month. So upgrade for Don Cheadle, upgrade for the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general for them to replace him. But as long as you upgrade or you stay the same, that's how you should do that. If it's a situation where you're replacing just for the hell of it or you're downgrading, then that's a mistake.
Sam, I'm going to ask you a different question when it comes to this movie itself. Try to spice things up a little bit here on the Four Reel Movie Club. This is kind of the kickoff to Phase 1. Yes, Iron Man in 2008 is considered part of the Phase 1, but this is when Disney got their hands into it and started going like, yep, we're making an Avengers movie. How did you feel with more or less Disney taking the reins with this film?
I was against it. I wanted to see the next chapter of Iron Man. And I think the first 30 minutes, maybe, if they had just took that and just continued, it would have been a much better movie than when they throw in, like, okay, we're going to have Black Widow in it. Now we're going to have Nick Fury pop in. We're going to have Coulson in here. They're going to force Iron Man to make a new element out of fucking magic. They're going to destroy his house to make a particle accelerator. He's going to have problems with Pepperies. Now there's a problem that he gave away his company, and now he's like, at the end of it, they give it back to him, but then for some reason in all the other films, he still doesn't have it exactly, kind of. I don't know. Way too many cooks in the kitchen. They should have let Jon Favreau do what he wanted to do. And I think we would have seen Jon Favreau on Iron Man 3 because of it.
Eddie, again, I'm going to switch up the questions a little bit. When it comes to the score and the soundtrack for Iron Man 2, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, generally, a lot of movies are just filler nowadays. As in, like, I can easily predict what's going to happen. You know, when it's an orchestra, it's really obvious what's going to happen. Like, you know, you have a slow pace, and oh man, the suspense going to happen. And it's just, you know, it's very predictable. So it's good production. let me try to find something. I guarantee you, Hans Zimmer's studio is probably involved one way or another because his studio has been producing so much stuff for soundtrack for the past like 10 years or so. But yeah, you can kind of hear that sound was like perfect. Like you cannot go any further anymore. It's just now it's a matter of trying to be original. And I thought Iron Man was bold. The first one was bold with the guitars, and then honestly, I didn't pay too much attention to the soundtrack in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not mistaken, the same theme was there, the heavy guitar stuff. It's blended with the orchestration. So like the drums were there, like the cool, like 4/4 drums. Yeah, I think Iron Man is the best. Musically, it's the best of the Marvel franchise. So I'll give it a thumbs up.
We'll stick with you. What were your final thoughts? High point, low point, and a ranking 1 to 10.
High point, Scarlett Johansson.
Good point.
Yeah.
She does have that stripping scene.
Oh yeah. Not as good as that Woody Allen movie though. Although it's not really stripping. But yeah, the point is, the low point. Okay, I have a few, but I guess the bird or that part when Mickey Rourke tries to find his dog. Oh, that was the wrestler.
I found my bird.
I can't discern. It's hard to discern Mickey Rourke's role here and the wrestler because he's just like this big grotesque creature and trying to make amends in his own special way. And I think the wrestler came out like what a year earlier than Iron Man 2.
Yeah, he was riding a high where he went from wrestler to Expendables to this.
That's a downgrade though from Marissa Tomei to a bird.
At one time. That's not my
Yeah,
bird.
there you go. I don't know. It's just there were certain things that I thought, yeah, I think maybe it was a script. I didn't analyze this movie too much, but I think maybe the script was way too much. Like this happens, then that happens, and this person arrives, and this person leaves. And I don't know. As far as recasting, real quick, I never like when that happens, but luckily the Don Cheadle thing didn't. Luckily, it didn't bother me. So that's definitely not a low point. But low point, I'll go for it. It's probably Mickey Rourke. I'll give the movie. I'll give it a 7. It entertained me, so it's entertaining. Robert Downey Jr. is still great, so maybe that's the magic that I mentioned earlier.
Sam, what were your final thoughts and high point, low point, and ranking 1 to 10?
Final thoughts, gigantic step down. This was my least favorite film of Phase 1. Too many cooks in the kitchen, like I said before. I think Jon Favreau had a vision that he wanted. They should have let him do it because what he wanted to do in Iron Man worked so well. I really don't understand some of the choices they made. I call it the Tony Stark, I understood that reference, eye roll. In the Avengers, when Steve's like, I understood that reference. You see Stark kind of go, ugh, like just with his eyes. There's too many of those moments. The low points in this movie for me are the moments like, I've got my eye on you, and stuff like that. Like the stuff that you didn't need that. They almost tried to make all the childish things of Iron Man fit in this movie so that more kids would watch it. And that just annoyed me to no end, which continued into Iron Man 3 to a worse degree. High point in this movie, other than just Robert Downey Jr. making this movie watchable, has to be that last fight. Just him and War Machine shooting down those drones. It was like visual sex. That was just perfect until Mickey Rourke once again ruined it.
With his bird.
And I would give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. It's just tipping the needle to the I did not like it end. And even though it's my least favorite, it only just tips into the I don't like it. Because even at its worst, it's still an okay movie. It's a good movie. It's the worst of Marvel, I think. But even Marvel's worst movie is a watchable movie. So that says a lot of stuff to benefit the Marvel universe.
Tony, what were your high points, low points, final thoughts, and ranking 1 to 10?
Well, obviously, the least favorite part of this film is the whole Boyd. You know, that thing is just ridiculous. And it's so bad that I think I need to mention 4 awesome things to make up for it. The Nick Fury donut scene is amazing. That alone just carries that idea that this is going to be a universe and these are going to be lived in universes instead of just something where nobody has any crossover until we get to the Avengers. It was cool to see, you know, Scarlett Johansson pop up as Black Widow, and that made it that much better because they had Nick Fury there to reiterate, yes, this is Black Widow from S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm S.H.I.E.L.D. Here's a fucking donut, you know. That was great. The Rhodey team up at the end, that fight scene was very cool. Sam Rockwell dancing was very cool too. But favorite scene, I'd have to say the very beginning. That conference with the senators and everything like that is perhaps the best scene of the whole film because it sets a tone that it doesn't ever able to reach after that, and it carries over the fun of what the first Iron Man was before things start getting bogged down. The movie is maybe like a 6. It's something that it's not a strong film in so many different ways, but it's something that was a complete necessary anchor to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, you know, when we were watching these movies in our marathon, people dipped down during The Incredible Hulk, and they dipped down still for Iron Man 2, but that's when we start kind of, you know, realizing that there are some fun things coming. And whenever there's a reference to, like, the Shield with Captain America or the Tesseract, then that's when you wake up a little bit more. So it gets a little bit of points.
Johansson.
Yeah, that too, because, man, don't forget about Happy Hogan, right? Yeah, so it's not the strongest film in the franchise by far, but it's something that they needed to do.
Well, that does it for Iron Man 2. Stick with us, click the next video, and call for Heimdall because we are going to Asgard, bitches. Thor is next here on the For Real Movie Club.